Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Studio. Today we're on location at Authentic Exposure Studio in Austin, Texas with my buddy Logan Lepper. Authentic Exposure is an 800 square foot podcast studio. Let me grab the camera and then we can kind of do a little tour.
This is what I like to call my feminine side. One thing I noticed when I did start leaning into podcasting more was I really wanted to have a set that like catered to feminine energy. Like so many women would come in here and say they've been to other podcast studios and it just felt very like masculine, bro-y like. And so every woman that comes through this studio loves this set. And I was very intentional and very specific about it being white, light, bright for that more feminine vibe.
And you're rocking Shure SM7Bs.
Yep. Got the Shures.
All around.
Yep.
You have, how many do you have total?
4 total.
Okay.
Yeah. I tend to all move them around a little bit. In a perfect world, I would maybe have 6 because I like to have 2 on desk stands as well that I don't want to have to move around.
Yeah.
You'll notice when you start to see everything set up in here, I don't like moving anything around anymore because it just becomes very inefficient. And so like lights are everywhere they need to be. Cameras typically are. If I could just leave all the microphones, but the microphones are the one thing that still kind of gets shifted around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. These chairs look super comfortable.
They are super comfortable.
Swivel chairs. Yeah. Where'd you get those?
It was actually a buddy of mine who had these exact chairs at his studio. And I was like, where did you get those? And he was like, this place in Round Rock. And I was like, I know the one you're talking about because I've gotten other chairs from there before.
That's great.
And so when I saw his, I was sold on them because I saw them in person. Was like, okay, perfect. These are good.
Yeah. So you picked up a couple of them.
Yeah.
You got a nice little table in the middle. Shelves.
Gotta have some bookshelves in the back.
Of course.
Gotta have a little something behind there. Again, very like female, feminine driven behind there. I'm very particular about my set design. I think you kind of get what you pay for, and it's going to show on camera. If like you go cheap, it's going to show up cheap on camera. The camera sees everything. So if I have a tip, spend a little money on your set design because it makes a big difference in the energy and the way people feel sitting there and the look of it, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really is how people feel, right? Because if they sit down and they're not comfortable, and they have to like fake it for the cameras, like you're not going to get an authentic
Setting
experience.
up this studio, I cared more about the interior design than all the technical components because technical stuff will just fall into place. It's like, whatever, just get the right cameras, do the right audio, all that stuff. But my goal was always, I want every person to feel insanely comfortable here. I want them to feel like it's their home, like they can just dip right into a conversation and tap in and be good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, like, I don't see a single cable on the ground. That's incredible.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with wireless and not having cable show, mainly because I don't like tripping over things. And again, it's like such a little detail, but it's one of those things that if guests or my clients and their guests are coming through here and they like have to step over wires and they don't want to trip on something or whatever, it's just that little bit that can throw off somebody's energy that I just don't want that to happen. And it's a look, it's a feel. Like, I want you to see the floor, not the wires on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't feel like a studio. It feels like a living room. It feels like, a little treehouse living room where you come and hang out.
Again, that's so important to me because if you have guests in here that have never been on a podcast, they've never had 3 cameras in their face, they've never had a bunch of lights on them, like, I want them to feel like it's a home, not a studio, because then they'll get comfortable.
Love it. Let's chat about the ceiling. So you got acoustic panels here, first of all.
Yeah.
Where'd you get those?
GIC acoustic is my main go-to, and my biggest reasoning was I definitely wanted to have wood floors or like veneer flooring, and I needed to stop the bounce of echo, and so I got a bunch of panels for the ceiling to stop that bounce, so I didn't have to worry about the flooring so much. I mean, I still have rugs in here, which helps, but yeah, I mean, you can tell the acoustics in here, there's no echo.
Yeah. Yeah, and like step 1 for any studio, maybe not step 1, but an early step is getting the acoustics right.
Yeah.
And so carpets are a big, easy way to fix that. Also, thick curtains. Those are kind of sheer curtains, but if you need thick curtains, that'll help.
Yeah.
And then, of course, acoustic panels scattered
The most
throughout.
important, though, is truly the ceiling. Like, everybody thinks they just have to put a bunch of stuff on the walls and then they never acoustic the ceilings. Like, when I'm doing consulting for studios, they don't think about the ceiling. I'm like, you could just plaster the ceiling with acoustics and that'll handle like 80% of your acoustics in the room. Like the windows aren't as a big a deal if you have the ceiling paneled. It also doubles as there's a bunch of LED lights in here, the like main room lights that I just wanted to cover and not be showing. So they kind of double as, aesthetically pleasing to cover the lights.
Yeah, for sure. This little cloud light, this is a diffusion cloth that you've kind of Velcroed to the ceiling, and then you have a light shooting through there that disperses and diffuses the light on the scene. I love that.
Great top-down lighting, great overhead lighting. I'd like to say it's my DIY Infinimat. So cost me with the light, maybe like $400 as opposed to like $10,000 for an Infinimat. It's a great overhead light. It's very flattering for women because women love their lighting and the way their skin looks. So it's very flattering for that.
Yeah. And so for this set, do you give them any front light or is this it?
No, this is usually it. I might throw on a diffuser here and shoot it that way and give them a little front light.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Lighting wise, you're running up there is an Amaran 150C.
All the white ones you see are 150Cs. They used to be sort of my main key lights, say for here and for here, because I would have two of the 32-inch domes on there. But then I really just didn't like the domes either because it just it brought the ceiling down and it got a little claustrophobic when you had 3 or 4 domes up here. So another reason I went to sort of the diffusion cloud, call it. So now these just work as little accent RGB lights when I need them to be, or like I said, a little extra fill light over here for right here.
Yeah. It's very natural looking too. Like whenever I see your shots, it's just natural. It doesn't look lit, which a lot of times as cinematographers, we light it and we move lights here and there. But at the end of the day, you just want it to feel natural.
Yeah.
So all these lights are ran through an iPad.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's the beauty of having everything in one ecosystem.
Everything mounted, one ecosystem. Everything's on the Amaran app, which most people, if you know Amaran or Aperture. So everything is listed here, which really comes in handy also when I have people renting the studio. So there's actually, I kind of give a few options of studio rental. You can just rent the space and not my production services, and you can bring in your own production team, and that's totally fine with me. Or you can get my full-scale production, whether it's for video production or for podcast production. So if somebody's just renting the space and they get access to the lights but not the equipment, it's really nice just to be able to be like, hey, go into the Amaran app, you can figure out all the lights from there.
Yeah.
And then the Govee is the bookshelf lights. So everything's app controlled.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Cool. Do you have names for these sets? Or do you just call them set 1 and set 2?
Not really.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want the light, bright, feminine side or the broy, masculine middle?
That's great. Well, let's move on to the broy, masculine middle set over here.
So this set actually didn't become permanent until the beginning of this year.
Doing the cloud again. Up there, you actually have...
Up there's a 600D, so that's super bright. I think we're only at 50% right now. And then I'll use my hair lights every so often, depending on how I'm kind of shooting them down here. I have two stand-up identical desks like this that I'll butt together to make a square table there if people want to sit at a table.
Yeah.
And then usually in that case, I'll maybe turn on the hair lights for them or something like that.
Yeah. Once again, everything is intentional. There's nothing on the shelves that doesn't belong there, right? Every single thing is designed to be shown on the camera. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Carpet, no cables at all. Even the cameras don't have cables.
No, I hate cables. I do not like cables. Everything wireless, have a really strong V-mount battery that if I'm batch shooting can last most of the day. I have a few backups in there. So I'd much rather deal with batteries than cables.
Yeah, nice. What cameras are you rocking?
I have 3 FX3s, and then I have all my DZO film cinema lenses. So I have a 35, a 75, and a 50. So the 35 will be here for the wide shot, and then I'll use a 50 and a 75 on the edges. Atomos Ninja monitors, little wireless HDMI. This isn't necessarily to broadcast or record, just to monitor in my office.
You record internally?
Yeah, record internally.
Okay, so... And I think that's what's kind of unique about your studio is that you don't even live cut.
I don't live cut. I honestly, for 2 reasons. One, you can get them now, but for a while you couldn't even export in 4K if you were live cutting, which all my clients want 4K. 2, I can edit it faster in post-production than I can sitting there live cutting it in person. So my time is better well spent monitoring their podcast, being able to do other work while I'm monitoring it, and then just editing the podcast after the fact at double speed. It works. That workflow for me is better than sitting in here and live switching. And truthfully, sometimes I get zoned out in conversations and I miss a live switch. It's inevitable. I'm human. So I'd much rather just do it in post-production.
Yeah. So again, no cables here. You're running everything off a big fat V-mount battery, wirelessly sending the signals to monitor it from your office.
Yeah, you can pop, if you look in here real fast, I'll have it up on this monitor right here going through my A10 Mini. And then all of my XLR controls for the microphones are right here. So I can sit here and monitor, and then I can be working on other projects while I'm monitoring, which to me is a way better use of my time as opposed to just sitting there and live switching.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes total sense, because there will be days where I'll have multiple podcasts, and then I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, that's all I did was monitor the podcast.
You just monitored all day, and you didn't get any work done.
Exactly.
And like, rarely do I have a client that's like, oh, I have to have this turned around tomorrow. Like, and quite frankly, I tell people if they ask me what their turnaround time is, I'm like, it's 48 hours or whatever. But if you need something turned around sooner, I'll try to get it done. But
yeah, these wood panels, they look great. Did you install those?
Yeah, so those are just the wood slat panels, double as acoustic panels as well. When I set designed this space right here, I painted those ones green because they were white.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted it to offset the blue over here, but I didn't want it to just be blue like that one.
Yeah, yeah. And those are pretty expensive, right?
Yes.
Every time I've priced it out, I'm like, this is thousands and thousands of dollars just for walls.
They're running a racket because I can't imagine they're that much to build. It's just some wood and some foam.
Yeah.
I needed them in here. Like I said, I got the acoustic panels on the ceiling, but I did need some stuff on the walls. I also wanted it just for, it's nice for texture, It gives some contrast, something different. This wall was tough because I do have a closet back here, so this was another intentional design. I didn't like this regular door being in the shot. So I just put a barn door on there that looks way better if it's in the shot.
So this is the third set, and the first thing I notice is seamless paper roll on the ceiling. How often does that get used?
Not as often anymore. So when I kind of let go of my photography identity, the paper roll was over there. And I was like, well, I can't fully get rid of it because I do have people who want to do blue screen or green screen, or every so often I'll just do some like studio headshots or something like that. Like I don't market it, but if somebody asks me, I'm like, sure, whatever, I'll do it. So I needed to find a place to at least put one roll. And this actually worked out better because it gives me still a pretty decent long runway to be able to photograph them here.
Yeah.
So one just gets left up there every now and then it gets used. So I did a blue screen thing like a couple weeks ago.
Nice. Once again, we have acoustic panels. We got a GIC on the ceiling. We got a little decorative panel from GIC Acoustics there. Another one there.
Yeah. This set's going to change soon. This is usually just where like the thing that a lot of clients like about my studio, and if you can do this, do it, because I think it sets you apart maybe from other podcast studios that are just like 3 rooms, let's say. Team members really like it because they can have, their assistants sit over here, or if they have a production person here, they can be in here, or just like I have teams in here of like 6, 8 people sometimes. And they love that they can be in the same room as where the podcast is happening or where the video recording is happening. They can chime in when they need to, whatever. So people love having the hangout space in the same room where things are getting recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. I like these little, so you've mounted all your lights on these little baby pins that
so I only have like 9-foot-ish ceilings. So I obviously wasn't going to put a grid with lights, and I didn't want stuff hanging down too close. As you can tell, I don't like a lot of stuff on the floor because it is a smaller space, so the less on the floor, the bigger it's going to feel. Yeah. So I found that just putting all these mounts in all the places where my lights potentially need to be for video shoots, that's what I did. That was also early on when I didn't have a lot of lights and I was moving just like maybe one light around a lot. Luckily, I have a few more lights now, and so they don't have to be moved as often. But definitely, like say when I shoot something over here, I might just put like a lantern on right here or a lantern right there or something and get it lit up in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have cables plugged into a ceiling in the outlet.
Yes.
Or an outlet in the
Again,
ceiling.
I have an obsession with wires. I don't want them seen, so I had outlets installed. I had a handyman come in and install outlets on the ceiling underneath the light, essentially, or underneath these panels, so then that way you don't even see where they're plugged in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that little attention to detail.
Yeah.
Because you could have cables everywhere and get by just fine.
Doesn't, then it starts to just feel like a messy studio at that point, and I do not like that vibe. I don't like that feeling. Again, it's about set and setting when people come in here and want to have conversations, or they need to film a talking head or film a YouTube video. The quicker they feel comfortable, the less takes it's going to require and the less work on my part. They're in and out of here faster. They feel comfortable. They get into their flow faster. It's all those little things that can make or break what a studio feels like.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. So yeah, we covered the studio. Can we cover like post-production, kind of quickly how you edit these things?
Yeah, sure. I don't do a lot of post-production for clients. All right. So let's say if it's somebody who's batch shooting a day's worth of content or like 4 interviews in here for a podcast. Most of the time I'll just pass off the audio and the raw audio and the raw video footage to them. Just send it in the cloud. They take it to their editing team and they do what they want with it. That's my ideal. That's what I love doing. I'm happy with that. Everybody wins. I don't have to do a lot of post-production work. I do have some retainer clients that I manage their full-scale podcast production. So I am managing editing their YouTube video and their audio podcast.
Okay.
But that's usually only like anywhere from 2 to 4 clients that are on retainer because truthfully, that's just the amount of workload I can handle. So
most of the time you're just delivering them the footage.
Yeah.
When you do edit the podcasts, what software are you
Premiere
using?
Pro.
Okay.
I might make the switch to DaVinci pretty soon just because DaVinci finally got AutoPod on it, the plugin, which comes in handy if you're just switching between 2 cameras. But a lot of the times now I'm doing 3 cameras. And truthfully, I just want to do DaVinci to see what color grading is like on there because everybody keeps talking about it. So
Nice. Well, good stuff. Thanks for the tour.
yeah, man.
Hey, big thanks to Logan Lepper at Authentic Exposure Studio for giving me the time to go out and record a little tour for YouTube. I enjoy that stuff a lot. Especially, I like seeing his process and his set design and how he runs his studio. I'm gonna definitely be taking a lot of those tips and putting it into my own studio. So if you're new here, that's the type of content that I create. I own a podcast studio and a production studio. So I produce YouTube content for that type of business. So thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing and doing all that stuff. I also sat down with Logan and did kind of a long form podcast. So that'll be coming out as well. Anyways, thanks for watching.
Nobody else is. I'm proud to say